Hi everyone. It's really great to be with you today, which is the occasion of celebrating the seventh birthday of In a Nutshell. I do believe all of you know it in a nutshell, in a way or another. And the idea of In a Nutshell has become a reality, which most of you have supported, have read, have criticized in a way or another, encouraged, you know. So I'm really happy to meet you today, and I know that most of you haven't seen me before talking online and that kind of so I decided to come to you and talk about In Nutshell and myself, and also about the encounter that we met throughout the journey of In Nutshell in 7 years. So it was really not easy. I mean, we have encountered many hardliner political in terms of political ideologies, in terms of tribalism, in terms of interest group, in terms of many ways. And I do believe most of you in our social media, Facebook, we know what we've been through since December 2013, when the horrible crisis happened in our country. But even though we did not call them, give them a name by that time, I mean, we've been writing since 2005, before independence. We've been active in internet at large, platform like SudanNet, like South Sudan Net, like my own Southern Sudan Online that I created also and was publishing and updating and supervising. We been writing, advocating for South Sudanese cause, or the New Sudan cause. Actually, by that time, we dreamed about a Sudan that is democratic, secular, inclusive, and free and diverse, you know. So we have those options of having a new Sudan or opting for independence, as we did in 2011, sorry. We have been active before 2013, but our activism was really about the cause of our people, our independence, our freedom, and a new Sudan that is based on common citizenship under the law, under new constitutions, under new norms that is different from the troubled or the unstable Sudan that been there since 1956. So let us come back to the idea of a nutshell. The nutshell was actually born out of the crisis, of 2013, which this is uh, the first volume of the Nutshell book series, and is actually a collective of, in a nutshell, opinion that I've been writing from actually 2005, which I call here as post-independence. That's but the beginning of the nutshell articles there. It was written in December 23rd, 2013. That means that it's just a couple of days from the crisis, from the start of crisis, which is started on the 15, 16, 17, and until this time, really. So this is the first volume of the nutshell. The second volume, unfortunately, I don't have it here right now, but it is coming as part of the shipment. That, as I told you before, that there is a limited copy of the nutshell that are going to arrive within this week or next. So I will let you know. This is the third volume. It's actually a collective of, in a nutshell, from 2017 to 2018. You know, every individual has a role, has something to do or to give to his country or to his people. It's not necessary that you are really looking for something back, but the most important thing is having a role in uplifting your people, your country, your community, your peers, your friends. You have to contribute with something. You have to put something on the table. It's not necessary that you are going to get something back. No. So, as a South Sudanese, American, or Canadian, or South Sudanese back home, South Sudanese diaspora, I mean also, each one of us have something to do, have something to give. You can do your role, you can contribute in many ways, you know, as a soldier, as a builder, in terms of idea, money. You just have to give something to your people. Do something for your people, do something for your country. And don't ask for something back. Just like John Kennedy, President of the U.S., former President of the U.S. said that ask for what you can do for your country and not what your country can do for you. I think this is collectively, if we all give something to our countries and nations will be better. So the idea of in a nutshell was my own idea about contributing in terms of ideas, in terms of advice, in terms of telling to the world or to humanity what is happening, what needs to be done, or what kind of help they can provide. So, the nutshell is an ongoing process. It's an idea that it invents itself anytime. I mean, it's something that is not really going to stop anytime soon, because as long as we have social issues, we have economic issues, we have leadership issues, performance issues in all walk of life. I mean, our basic idea is about fixing, analyzing problems, issues, recommending fixes, resolutions, solutions, and without any expecting any rewards, you know. We recommend, and we give those who recommend those solutions the freedom to choose whether they believe in our fixes, solutions, and resolution recommendation is up to them. But I do believe rationally and in terms of reasoning, we really do recommend the best fixes in terms of my background as a system engineer, which is IT, computer engineer, system administrator, system engineer. So I think in terms of looking at things as a standard, I do believe our fixes or recommendation can work in many proportions, many aspects of governance, in terms of economic problems, social problems, and that's why we've been writing nearly on everything in that kind of standard. So we are glad that we have reached year 7 in this long journey or process, and we've been writing a lot, and a lot of people have been giving us credit. A lot of people are also, we have won many enemies of trust, enemies of rationality, enemy of reasoning. Some people want things to stay like they are because they are making something out. It is a business also for things to be unstable. Some people, they are really making something out of that, and they would fight back if you're trying to fix those things. So we know that also. The most important thing is, as a country, a nation, a new nation, we must have a foundation. That foundation must be sound, must be stable, must be inclusive. If we want to have a great country and a great nation. And this cannot happen out of the blue. It is the responsibility of political leadership. Governance is the government that comes out of the political process. It is also the responsibility of intellectual. It is the responsibility of every citizen to see his country peaceful, stable, prosperous, and united, secure, all the good aspects. And as South Sudanese, we know those things, they never be part of us. Throughout Sudan and history since 1956, we been in suffering, continuous suffering. Most of my generation and my father's generation, or they know exactly what was it like. In terms of social injustice, political domination, economic marginalization. We do know what it means to be a second-class citizen or to be outcast of the system. So that's why you have seen our grandfathers, our fathers, they've been in continuous fight with the system, the central government system in Khartoum, because of marginalization, because of isolation, political marginalization, economic. So we've been through all this. That's why there was a Nyanya 2 movement, a Nyanya movement, a Nyanya 2 movement, SPLM, all those movements. They were actually against Khartoum domination policies. And it is very important that we connect our history and future and present together. If we are not going to lose the course. Because somebody who doesn't know history, the bitter history that, the bitter struggle that we have waged to achieve our independence, will easily waste that glorious objective that we achieved with blood and millions of lives. You will just waste it. You're going to waste it in very simple mistake. Tribalism is what we are doing today because we merely forgot that we were, all of us, not just only one single tribe. We were suffering. We were being categorized as a unit, not just, oh, no, this tribe is better than that or this tribe. No, we were just all South Sudanese, and maybe even in other terms. So those who are waging tribalism or using tribalism today as a method or political power of or a method to rule, they actually did not have the heart. They did not have the heart of nationalism. They forgot that we were under domination, all of us, and that without our unity, we couldn't be here now as independent country, independent nation. So it is very important that we know our history. It's very important that we know what we are doing, what we have to avoid in order not to fail. And this is where our role as intellectuals come from. It's not because we are vying for leadership or maybe presidency, as many people think. It is not. It is because we are responsible, or we are obliged to do our role in terms of correcting the leadership, in terms of correcting the system, in terms of giving recommendation to fix economic problems, social problems, and political problems, and to mediate in whatever crisis that is happening in our country. It's not really like people think that everyone that is writing or everyone that is yelling about leadership is because he had leadership, or because, no, it is because if you have a concern, a national concern about your country and about your people, I do believe you won't just stay idle. You won't just stay without saying anything. Even it doesn't have to be a rebellion. It doesn't have to be like madness. But you have to give an advice in a good way. Write or talk. I love those who talk, because they reveal something about they reflect something about themselves. You don't like something wrong. Yes, that's good as a human. You don't like something that is not going to be good for a country or for a nation. That's really good. But you can't just keep silent and criticize those who are trying to correct things. I think that's not a good option. But we are in democracy, you know. I mean, like the way that we run our country is a democracy. Everyone has his own, as long as it is under the law, it's not hurting anybody else. So we choose democracy, we choose freedom, because this is the only ocean that we can always swim in. It's not just something prescribed by Shua that this is, no. What we will meet at what is reasonable, what is good for us as public interest, I mean for the public good. So this is one thing why the inertia is here. The inertia has been writing about leadership, criticizing President Kiir leadership mostly, not because we have an issue with President Kiir. President Kiir is an elder. He's actually somebody I know when I was young. We used to live in the same neighborhood in Malakal, Mituria, in early 80s. My uncle, James Kalwarwal, engineer, he was director of mechanical department, and also engineering. Ray Swagi. So everybody knows him, and he fixes cars. He provides gas. I mean, like the government car is under his supervision. So if you would build the car from scratch chassis, and few days it's going up. Everybody knows Uncle James Galwak, well, tall like me, very handsome, very good man, very official, very hardworking. And so President Selfa is someone that not his friend. We have respect for him. We know that he did his rule. We know that he did his, but also we have, even if he's our brother or our father or our elder, we have to tell him, this is not something going to be good for our country. This is something not going to be good for our nation. If I see my brother is driving the car onto a tree and going to hit the tree, if I'm not going to tell him that you are going to hit that tree and kill us, I think that wouldn't be right. This is exactly what we are doing. It's not because we hate President Selfa or because we have some problem. We could have some political differences and all this, but we will sit, come home and chat, drink tea and all this. This is the normal thing that we can. We will, as a mature politician, a smart politician, wise politician, politics is something to fix our lives, our country, our nations, our problems. It's not something that we have to be enemies. We don't have to be enemies because it's all about theory of correct thinking. If your theory or your vision is right, then if I am rational, if I am reasonable, I have to accept your, even though it doesn't serve my interests. So this is what we're trying to achieve, and people don't have to view us as enemies when we suggest, when we criticize, when we don't agree with the policies. Now you see the state of our country. The state of our country is very miserable. And not because people did not give recommendation or did not write about or critique about those things that they are going to happen. I do believe South Sudan is one of the most intellectual people in Africa, if not in the world. But nobody give them. I mean, like, our leaders, they don't listen to our intellectual. Maybe they consider them as rivals, they consider them as enemies, and we experience a lot of clash between the leadership and the intellectual. So we could be cowards and stay out of everything, and we let the country down without saying anything. I don't think that is a good option. So this is where the nutshell came from and what the nutshell is doing, and will continue doing. And I hope people will understand us that we are no enemies to any leaders. We are just opposing strong concept, policies, decisions that can harm our country, can harm our nation. And so these few days we will be having discussion about topic that we've been addressing throughout the 7 years, such as leadership, such as how we can engineer our social norms, social orders, in order to create a society that is productive, healthy, and successful, stable. Because we have a lot of issues that we inherited from North. We brought, some of them are really good. They don't need to be shared. But some of them, they have to, because they don't add value in our lives. They are not productive. They don't benefit us in many ways. So those kind of traditions or beliefs, we must re-engineer them so our society can be protected. Like, people are spending all their days playing dominoes. This is one thing. Like, 40 people is staying in one family, in one house, relying on one working person. This is against even the economic growth of, in terms of person, in terms of individual, or in terms of nation. So we need to change those norms so our society can be productive, can be independent instead of being dependent. Many people are, like 30 people can be dependent to one person. While there is jobs, they could serve in the country, in private sector, they could serve in public sector. And in that way, they contribute in developing the country. They contribute in economic growth. So those are things that, if we don't fix them, they will actually create other problems. Those problems also will create bigger, more complicated problems. So those are things. We also have to care about the future of the country and the nation. Unemployed youth, you see, schooling, colleges. You can't just leave your nation like that if you are a leader. You need to strategize for the future of your nation or your people, the youth, the elderly, how they are going to retire, Social Security, all those things. You see your people abroad, how they are living, crime rates, gangs, all those are, like things that not really necessarily just only one, government. It's a collective work of all of us. You give an idea, I give recommendation. Those things, we bring them all together and find solution for that. So we will continue with celebration of Ignatia. We will invite some individuals and talk with us in these days about all these issues that matter in our process of state and nation building. So please give us your feedback in any way, and it has to be constructive, because we want to be constructive. Our point is not to disagree. To be enemies. We can, we can disagree, which is we are entitled we are entitled to our opinion, whether it is political opinion or, but we still have to debate and reach some common ground, because it's not just only for the sake of debate, but because we want to reach what is right and what is true, what is reasoning. This is mostly what we need to do, and respect one another's opinion and the order of the debate. I mean, it must be constructive. So thank you so much for listening to me. I will continue tomorrow with you in other matters. Thank you so much.